Okay, well, here we are. Um, Today I have Lori Thompson with me, and she is the author of the book Pivot Point: Finding the Secret to Everything. This book is super cool. I got something wonky going. Because it is a book on the first half, and then when you're ready, you flip it over, and it is a workbook on the second half. So I think that is super cool. I love this book. I love the design, Lori. It's super cool. But I asked Lori to come on and dialogue with me because she is one of the people that really embodies the message of my book, which is Smudge Pages, Letting Go of the Lies and Letting God Write Your Story, which we are launching very soon on May 13th. So, but Lori, tell us first, let's back up and just tell us just a little bit about yourself now. Give us a little lowdown of who you are, all the like, here I am details.
Okay. All right. Well, my name's Lori Thompson. I live in South Carolina. Born and raised in Michigan, but I've been in South Carolina for 30 plus years now. And I have 3 grown children. I have 6 grandchildren. And I have, yes, authored Pivot Point: What If You Found the Secret to Everything? And I currently have a full-time job, but I also do graphic design. I paint, do artwork, and content creation and so on and so forth for other authors. So I do a lot of things. I'm very busy.
I can imagine. Goodness sakes, it sounds like it. I didn't know that you did graphic design. Did you design your own cover?
I did.
Nice. It's great. I love it.
Thank
Well,
you.
so you wrote this book. God took you over the course of your life. Lori and I have chatted before. And over the course of her life, Lori walked through a lot of different pain and struggle. Let's just be honest, right? It was real. But
Yeah.
would you there and that all comes into play in your book. But there came to be kind of a life defining struggle, which you had to go through, you had to walk through, God had to carry you through, that then ended up leading to you writing this book. What was that, Lori?
Um, uh, yes, I had several events in life that were extremely painful and wounding. And then when I, tried to get to the crux of, okay, where is I guess your first wound
Yeah.
tends to happen over and over again. I don't know if you put yourself in those positions or it's where it hits you. That would be abandonment and unworthiness, feeling abandoned and unworthy. And you may feel those things with other people for various reasons and going through various trials. However, you're not abandoned by God, and you are worthy of his love because he loves you.
Yeah.
Not for anything that you've done yourself,
Yeah.
but because he made you for that purpose. He made you to love you and to love others. So that's a big fat lie of the enemy. And through various things that happen to all of us in life, we find, it affects different people in different ways. For me, those were the 2 main wounds that I found myself reacting from that place over and over again to what was going on situationally.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I love how you put that God loves us just to love us, right? And he created us just to love us, and then he gets to love through us. which
Correct. Yes.
which is one of the things that that I'm talking about in my ministry, is that we're smudge pages, and we don't have to be perfect, and our lives don't have been perfect. God can still work in us and through us. When we talked, one of the lies in my book stood out to me as connecting with yours, and that is my past mistakes define who I am and who I can become. Talk a little bit about that, just briefly.
So many times, and I've had this happen to me too, especially here in the last 10 years probably. I had some really whoppers happen through things that happened as during a time as a missionary, and during time toward what turned out to be the end of my marriage. Some really, really rough times. And what happened was, I'm a thinker anyway. I'm very introverted, and I'm internalized a lot. So what happened was, every single day playing over and over and over in my head was at any given moment, I could be talking to somebody and looking perfectly fine, but the whole time this recording's playing over and over like a cycle in my head, and it was keeping me stuck.
Yeah.
Like completely stuck, and feeling overwhelming shame and grief, and I was totally stuck there.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in my car one day, and I knew for a long time I was supposed to be writing a book about my experiences. I certainly didn't know it was going to turn out to be this book. That was definitely God directed for me. But I sat there in my car looking around going, is this going to be my defining thing when I stand before Jesus? You know, am I going to let this do this to me?
Yeah.
And let Satan stop me effectively from doing anything effectively, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know what it was, just that particular time I said, you know what? I am going to stop right where I'm at. This is my line in the sand. I'm going to change the way I'm doing things, and I'm going to sit down and figure out what I'm supposed to be saying about this. I'm going to write this book. And it was almost like it must have been a surrender to what I knew God wanted me to do, and things changed a lot from that point.
And you call that your pivot point.
Right.
Yeah.
A pivot point. Exactly. You're in a cycle that is not getting you anywhere fast. You know, it's like being on the roundabout that you don't get off of.
Yeah.
You know, you're on the roundabout. And but initially what started the process, and it was a slow process, but what initially started it is me not leaning on my own understanding. And I cried out to God, and I said, I don't understand. I just want to understand you. Help me understand you. I mean, I'm crying out to God. I just want to understand you. And it was like I said, a gradual process, but I could feel it.
Wow.
The pain at the time was intense enough because of the wounds that had happened in my missionary experience. It hurt my heart to listen to Christian music on the radio, and that had always been something I did. And it hurt my heart to step inside church.
Yeah.
Even though I knew that the wound wasn't from God, right. It was from people. It was God's representatives. And when I cried out to God, I just want to understand you. It was just really honestly amazing how I felt like healing was washing over me little by little by little. And it was almost like, you know, when the prodigal son all of a sudden comes to himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And realizes, you know, where he belongs.
I need to be with the Father. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was something like that, where my feeling like I was a child in the corner being scolded by God. It must be God punishing me. That's another lie.
Yeah, that's another lie in my book.
I'm not worthy of any love, whether God's or anybody else's. And I've been abandoned by God and everybody else. So you know what I mean? Those
yes, I do.
And so that was the beginning of healing and turning back toward God and my faith that had always been there. But it was that
Yeah.
It was a sliver of hope,
Yeah.
a sliver of hope that helped to build my faith and get me back into God's abiding love. And so that's what started, and the book started into a totally different book, and it ended up being this one, which is all
Would you
by
say,
God's grace.
Lori, did you start writing the book before the healing was complete? Did the book help the healing
Yes,
process?
yes, the book helped 100% helped the healing process. I spent probably 8 months in coffee shops, and then at my boss, at my regular job, my day job that I still have, my day job, she let me use the office at work because of COVID. Everything shut down,
I
and I didn't
remember
know.
we were
I don't
talking
have a
and you were,
reliable
yeah.
internet connection at home, so yeah, so I was there doing that. But for 8 months, I was writing a different book,
Yeah.
and I was just mining the Bible and Tolkien, of all things, to find those connection points for other people, for readers, because my experience was that people didn't quite understand where I was coming from with, especially with the missionary experience. They just get glazed over looks and kind of back away, when most people are uncomfortable with other people's pain. And so they start going, oh, okay, I think I had an appointment, and so I knew that. So I was trying to find a connecting point. So going through so many months of writing things out, it was starting to look like one of those, and then this happened, and then, which, isn't reader friendly, really.
Right.
It's more like catharsis friendly, and that's what it was. But I started realizing that, for number one, there was a lot of parallels you could draw between Tolkien's writing and connect those dots and the Bible, and it started a healing process I wasn't even planning on. And then all of a sudden I realized that the tone and everything was changing. And I woke up one morning, I had all these iterations of different titles. I woke up one morning, and the very first thought in my brain, this is before anybody was talking about pivots or anything like that, because it was really, really early in the COVID thing. And I heard in my head pivot point, and I was like, where did that come from?
Exactly.
And then I went, that's the book, that's the title, that's it.
God thing. It's a God thing.
Yep.
I love, so I would say I had a similar thing happen, but I love the fact, this is one of the things that I want to iterate to people is, you don't have to be perfect. God can use you wherever you are. So you started where you were. I mean,
Right.
at first, if we back all the way up, you started in your pain and in your rawness, right? And you cried out to God, I want to know you. When we seek God's heart, when we
Yes.
seek him above the other stuff, above the voices of Satan, the voices of the people and the world, when we seek him
Right.
above what's going on and all the things that could distract us, when we seek him and his heart, then wow, you talked about just waves of healing and love and mercy and grace. We
Yes.
get him. And God, the psalmist always is talking about how, better than, honey, and better than gold, and, better than anything I could desire, God himself. So, but then still, I mean, what that was a healing, and that was going on and was happening for you.
Right.
But you still could have said, well, I have to wait until it's all fixed, right? It's all fixed before I let God use me. But you didn't. You said, I know I'm supposed to be used by God, even though I'm still a little messy and a little broken. There's still little smudges on my pages I'm going to write on that book anyway. And so, and I love that, because that's what I'm trying to tell people. That's my message. So what is the message, if you could encapsulate your message, Lori, that you're sharing with people now in 1 to 2 sentences, what is your message?
Well, my message is that if you get God connected and directed, you get into the word and really take that into yourself. You can today, right now, this can be your line in the sand. Whatever you're doing, if it's not working, then you need to make a pivot. You need to do something different. And the something different is getting connected and directed with and by God.
Yeah.
And now my book is written to Christian women. So it's really written to people who understand the message. The gospel is in there, but it is written to already believers. But we know as believers, it gets messy too.
It does. It
It gets
does.
messy too. And I think we don't give ourselves permission to be transparent about that.
Yep.
I say that's called hush hush the broken.
Yep.
Because we don't want to let the world know that, hey, we're broken too.
Yep.
But we're put back together.
Yes. Yes. And that's what God uses broken people, because the brokenness showcases his mercy. It showcases his grace.
Absolutely.
It showcases his love and his glory, where, where sin, and we could insert in there brokenness, where sin and brokenness abounded, grace abounded all the more. Right.
Yes.
And so that's why I love it. Both the books are sharing that same kind of message of hope and peace, and you can be used by God. You don't have to be stuck. You can, get out of that stuck, broken place, and God, there is still hope for you. There is still peace. There is still joy. God is still going to use you. So,
and the awesome thing about that is that the way you're used is to help other people in those places.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, Lori, this was really fun. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And Lori's book is going to be one of the giveaways at my book launch. So if you would love to read her book, I'm getting glare. If you would love to read her book, Pivot Point, then be sure to attend my book launch on May 13th. That is at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, or I guess it's Mountain Daylight Time now. And you could win her book. And if you don't win her book, we'll have a link to where you can buy it. So, but thanks, Lori. I so appreciate your joining us today.
Thank you.